Hi jewelry class, this is Ms. Gardner and I'm going to show you some wire wrap stones for a pendant. The first two I'm going to show you is one I have had a long time. I didn't make this. I'm not sure where it came from, but it has a really simple wrapped wire. Now this is a strong wire, it keeps its shape nicely, but you see that a loop, an open loop, comes around the stone. It's just a piece of glass. It's like sea glass, and then it wraps around, goes under the belly and ends. You can see the back of it. You can tell this is the front. Okay, and it has a self-made bail worked into it. And then this is one that I made after I was inspired by the first one, and I used a wire that a lot of you took home. Let's see, it's the aluminum wire, kind of really thick, and it's really soft, and about a foot would probably do you, about, the length you see here. And these are just dollar store stones. You can get them in a bag, really cheap, obviously. And they're great for practicing wrapping stones. And so on this one, now I know some of you probably don't have round nose pliers at home. A few of you do, and a few of you don't. But you can see that I had actually used my round nose pliers to help bend the wire a couple of times, looped it around, wrapped the tip around, and then started. But if you don't have those pliers, I have another way I'm going to show you today that you can make a nice bail or opening like that. But this one you can see was just simply just formed right around the stone as I went. And then I did end up snipping off a little bit. You always rather have a little bit extra than run short. Sometimes you run short and then the stone just falls out the bottom. So in this one I made sure I went under the thick part of the belly so that it wouldn't slip out, and then I just gave it a little curl so that the tip wouldn't snag, and then gave it a nice kind of design to finish it off with. So let me set that one aside. Here's a neat one that's a crystal. I'm not sure where this one came from either, but it looks like they had two wires that were just really crisscrossed and then twisted a bit, brought up the sides, and then they finished wrapping it off and incorporated a top. Okay, but I didn't make that one. Now the last one I want to show you is interesting. It's a Viking weave. It looks really complicated, but not so much. I think the hardest part was doing the top. This is a little bit messy actually. Now there was a tutorial I really liked. They used a 28 gauge wire, which means it's extra thin, and the higher the number, the thinner it is. I don't have 28 gauge with me, so I'm going to be using some copper wire that's coated to make it look silver. And it's about, I'm guessing, a 24 gauge, so it's a little bit thicker than the kind that I'd recommend. The reason you'd want to have a thinner wire is it kind of threads almost like you're sewing. It makes it a lot easier, and the patterns are just a lot prettier and delicate and easier to work with. The 24 gauge that I'm using is a little bit trickier. So I'm going to start out, let's see, I'm going to use this stone, as you see, just a dollar store coin, stone right here. I'm going to use a colored pencil, since some of you don't have round nose pliers, to show you how you can make a little opening up at the top. Oops, I'm going to start. I'm going to wrap it around, making a bail, leaving a little bit of a tail right there. And I'm just going to hold on to it and just make sure I at least wrap twice like that, as you see. And I had to have enough of a tail that I can wrap that little tail around. I might have to use some chain nose pliers. Everybody should have at least one type of pliers at home, or maybe needle nose pliers. Now I'm just going to try to get that sharp tip kind of bent in, or if you can neatly just kind of grab it and twist a little bit. Okay, and I end up with, if you slide it off, you end up with a nice kind of little bail like that. Okay, and then I'm going to, which way? I can go either way with this. I'll just go ahead and try this. I'm going to just kind of lay it onto the stone, whichever one I decide the top is. Don't worry if it looks a little bit sideways like that, but you're basically just putting that loop right on top of it. Oh, and you'll need a little bit of masking tape. See that little snippet of tape at the very end? That's all I need, a little piece like that. So I already have one cut. Now having that nice bigger hole is going to make it easier to get the tape in. If it's really small, it's kind of hard to. This tape is just going to kind of anchor it down for now. Oops. Like that. Okay, and now I'm going to hold on to everything, and I'm going to get this wire to kind of come around the shoulder, like that. I can always straighten it up later a little bit. Okay, so I just went around the shoulder, and I'm going to kind of thread my wire through the original bail loop there. Now my wire, like I say, is a little bit thicker, so I'm going to have to kind of coax it in a little bit better. Thinner wire kind of threads through nicely, but this is pretty good. Okay, so it's like a little loop, almost like a little head and little neck and shoulders there. I'm going to take it around, kind of really holding on to everything. Here I'm back to the other side, and I'm going to thread it through that original loop on this side. This is the only time I'm going to be threading through that loop, just, you know, the last time, and now on this side. Okay. And now I'm going to start my pattern. I'm on the second round here. Take it around, bring it to the other side. Now, instead of going through that original big loop up here, now I'm going to come around the neck of the last loop. So it's almost like you're sewing. Again, I'm kind of coaxing that up in there. Okay, and I'm going to take it around, trying to hold on to everything there. Now, remember, you're going through the last, or not through, I'm not going through any holes, I'm going behind, I guess you could say, the neck of the last round. Bringing it around like this. Sometimes you have to adjust it a little bit there. And here we go. Try to keep my hands out of the way there. Okay. Bring it around, and it's working my way down. Now, I cut 2 feet of this wire. There was a tutorial I watched. I would like to use the thin wire, and it had probably it was a much smaller stone, and they use only a foot. But you don't want to run out. If you're using a big dollar store coin like I am, I keep saying coin, stone, you have to have enough wire. So I cut at least 2, and I feel like I have quite a bit left here. I think I'm doing okay. I'm trying to keep it tight, or snug, I guess you could say. Go behind the last round there. Kind of almost makes what looks kind of like a rib cage coming down. Now I'm starting to get underneath that thicker bellyish kind of part of the stone. I definitely have to make sure I, get that far down. Oops. Take it around. Let it slip off. Oop, got a little kink in there. Take it to the other side. And of course you can take your time and adjust these a little bit better. I'm going a little quick here. I think I will make this my last round. And I have just enough wire. You gotta have a little extra because you want to be able to pick up a little stitch there. And be able to finish it off. Okay, now sometimes if you have thinner wire, you could probably even do a couple little stitches, and I could make that a little tighter and snug it up, pretty it up a little bit. But let's just say if I was finished, I would want to, after I've wrapped it once or twice, I would cut off the end and then just kind of get that tip to hide so it's not sharp. Okay. Oh, and don't forget, you want to be able to take this off too. It'll come off pretty easy. Just a little temporary piece of tape, if I can. Come on now. Stubborn. There it is. There it is. Okay. And you can always do some adjusting. You know, spreading it out like this is a little bit, needs a little bit more of a gap there. So you can always snug it up. But pretty good for thick wire there. Alright, so there is the Viking weave. Pretty fun. Alright, try something for yourself there now.